Just 1 minute, folks. 1 minute, folks. Let a couple of people tune in. Good show tonight. Haven't done a show in a couple of weeks. Been very busy. Thank God, work-wise. So, hey, good evening, Loretta. Blessings to you too. Thank you for joining in. Got an interesting show tonight. It's been a while. Like I was saying earlier, I've been busy, work-wise, overtime, yada, yada, yada. That's just personal things. But thank you for tuning in. God bless you too. A loyal follower there. So anyway, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Patriot Nation TV. I'm your host, Tim Davis, a.k.a. Professor Rex. There's no sound here. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, because if there's no sound... Let me see. Can you hear me? Any sound there now? How's that? Let me turn my mic up a little bit. Hey, good evening, Scott Hartman. What's up, buddy? How's everything, brother? Glad to see you tuning in. God bless. God bless you. Sounds good. You guys can hear me. Everybody can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. All right, guys. Like I was saying, let me recap this this little episode here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Patriot Nation TV. I'm your host, Tim Davis, a.k.a. Professor Rex, your New Age Patriot with the 1776 attitude. Just one man, one opinion, trying to connect the dots. So tonight's episode, I'm going to talk about Joe the Tyrant Biden's dark winter. His dark winter. Dark winter of 2021-2022. So how do we start with this? It is Sunday, October 17th, 2021. So as we get into Joe the Tyrant Biden's dark winter, we'll talk about stuff like is inflation going on, stuff like that. The schools, weaponizing the Department of the DOJ against parents, stuff like that. But before I get into that, everybody that's been following this page, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the page or you're just first time tuning in, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bing, 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 the little notification bell. Get notified because I'm being deeply censored. Once again, I'm in another 30-day Facebook jail. Speaking the truth, that's all. That'll be 150 days in 2021. I was in Facebook jail. So I'm going to announce it now. January 1, I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook. I'm going to wish all my friends from 40, 50 years ago. Not 50 years ago. It was 40 years ago. Goodbye. We got each other's numbers. I'm done with it. I'm not going to partake in the propaganda and the censorship. Too old for it. 50 years old, too old for it. So let me start off by saying this. Everybody that's been following, you all know I'm a big fan of Orwell, George Orwell. I have many of his books, his essays and stuff like that. Obviously, I've done a few videos. I'll probably post them at the end of this one with Huxley, Brave New World, 1984, when I both probably up here in my left-hand corner. What else can I put in there? I'll throw a couple more videos if you haven't seen them in the past. Check them out. They're pretty good. Animal Farm. Maybe I'll put it in my right-hand corner. Stuff like that. Cancel culture. Maybe my bottom left-hand corner. We'll see what happens. So I'm a big fan of Orwell. definitely a big fan of Orwell. I think everybody should read him, learn who he is, his writings, his books, because they're all relevant and pertain to today. So I came across one of his essays that he wrote about the Spanish Civil War from 1936 to 1939. He actually partook in that war. And so I'm going to give a little cliff notes on that. Check it out for yourself. A couple other books. We'll talk about Orwell's 5 Nightmares That Came True. We'll talk about the great thinkers. We'll talk about the great thinkers of the 20th century, like C.S. Lewis, other books. A book I came across that was published in 1932, a book titled Towards Soviet America. I always said anything that's written past the 1940s was all propaganda. You can't believe any of it, really, maybe a third of it. Orwell actually, in his essay, he said history stopped in 1936, and everything since is propaganda. I'm going to say what the notes I wrote down about him from that essay, where it's relevant today. It's right in front of us. So, as Orwell would always, Orwell's reflections led to some frightening conclusions, namely that propaganda of the past is now our history. That the propaganda we see in the news today. Now, remember, folks, this was all written 80 years ago, and it's more relevant today, just like the Bible, more relevant today than it was when it was written. The Constitution is more relevant today than it was when it was first written. So I'll reread that. Orwell's reflection that there's some frightening conclusions, namely that the propaganda of the past is now our history. That the propaganda we see in the news today will one day be studied by future generations as truth. And that reality stretches ever further beyond our grasps in an age of relativism and mass media. If you can't tell by now that society is being programmed, then you've been perfectly programmed. If you can't see the BS, if you can't see that now, you've been perfectly programmed. You are a sheep, 100%. So let me start off by saying this. Let me make a little comparison, a little analogies and stuff like that. Most people are familiar with the plot of the movie, The Matrix. The 1999 film portrays a dystopian future where the reality that people inhabit is actually a simulation created by machines intent on subjugating the human race. The film has continued to resonate with many people because of growing sense that our modern world is largely simulated reality conditioned by technology and mass media. As it turns out, many decades ago, an author, like one of my favorite authors, George Orwell, sounded the warning bell of modern man's matrix-like condition when he said history stopped in 1936. The source of this intriguing observation is not Orwell's novel 1984 or Animal Farm, but his 1943 essay, Looking Back on the Spanish War. It was written as a reflection on Orwell's participation in the Spanish War from 1936 to 1939, in which he fought for the Republican side against the Franco-led fascists. According to Orwell, it was during the Spanish War that he became aware of the pervasive use of propaganda used to support modern totalitarian regimes. And as he would say in that essay, this is Orwell's writings, I remember saying once to Arthur Koestler, history stopped in 1936, at which he nodded in immediate understanding. We were both thinking of totalitarianism in general, but more particularly of the Spanish War. Early in life, I've noticed that no event is ever correctly reported in a newspaper. But in Spain, for the first time, I saw newspaper reports which did not bear any relations to the facts. Not even the relationship which is implied in an ordinary lie. I saw great battles reported where there had been no fighting, a complete silence where hundreds of men had been killed. I saw troops who had fought bravely denounced as cowards and traitors, and others who had never seen a shot fired hailed as heroes of imaginary victories. Vietnam, America, whatever. And I saw newspapers in London retailing these lies, and eager intellectuals building emotional superstructures over events that had never happened. I saw, in fact, history being written not in terms of what happened, but what ought to have happened according to various party lines. History to the victor belongs as spoils. It's written by the winner. Pardon me, folks. A little coffee. So basically, Orwell's above observations were inspired by the World War II era, when totalitarianism regimes such as Nazi Germany and communist Russia constituted a threat to freedom in the world. But since then, a number of thinkers have remarked that America and other Western countries are developing into a soft totalitarianism, in which a pleasure-loving and increasingly lonely populace surrenders their freedoms to radical ideologies, which maintain their hold through education and a steady stream of propaganda. As a result of modern world's reliance on propaganda, Orwell recognized that our access to the truth of the past events, such as the Spanish Civil War or World War II, take your pick, Spanish Civil War, World War II, would be severely compromised. As he says in that essay, this is Orwell, I'm quoting Orwell, I'm paraphrasing Orwell. This kind of thing is frightening to me because it often gives me the feeling that the very concept of objective truth is fading out of the world. After all, the chances are that those lies, or any rate similar to lies, will pass into history. Yet after all, some kind of history will be written. And after those who actually remember the war or fought those wars are dead, like World War II vets, Korea, Vietnam, it will be universally accepted. So for all practical purposes, the lie, the big lie, will have become the truth. That was Orwell. You gotta remember this. Orwell was not naive about history. He sat in boards and chambers with the Fabian socialists. If you're not familiar with it, check out the Fabian socialists. He had an inside tip. So did Huxley. That's why they came up with these books they wrote. So, like I said, Orwell was not naive about history. He noted it was the fashion to suggest that history was essentially a long list of lies, and recognized the likelihood that many writers of history deliberately lied. We can go on about anything. It was all lies. Or unconsciously colored what they wrote. That's what I call a whitewashed history, whitewashed religion. They unconsciously colored what they wrote. But what is particular to our own age, 2021, or as Orwell would say in 1936, 40, whatever you want to call it, how do I go about this? In our own age, basically Orwell wrote is the abandonment of the idea that history could truthfully be written, that there is a body of neutral fact on which neither historian would seriously challenge the other. Now it's everything. Scientists, historians, they're battling each other. Propaganda. 1984, Brave New World. If true, Orwell's reflection led to some frightening conclusions, namely that the propaganda of the past is now our history. So propaganda of the past, Columbus, Revolution, Civil War, whatever, World War I, World War II. Think about that. If it's true, Orwell's reflection led to some frightening conclusions. That the propaganda of the past is now our history. That the propaganda we see in the news today will one day be studied in future generations as truth. 1619 Project comes to mind. And that reality stretches ever further beyond our grasp in an age of relativism and mass media. That's just a little bit of his essay from the Spanish War. But the real scary thing about it, the scary thing about it is 5 of Orwell's worst nightmares have come true. We can talk about it if you want. Tell me what you want to talk about. So the 5 things that actually came true out of his worst nightmares are: 1, we've been dumbed down by public education system. So my generation, Generation X, the first generation after segregation and Jim Crow. My generation is the first generation where that was all illegal. Number 1, we've been dumbed down by the public education system. 2, we've been indoctrinated by corporate-owned mass media. No. 3, we've been socially engineered by Hollywood movies, pop culture, music, and TV programming. 4, we've been drugged, brainwashed, and robbed by big pharmaceutical and the American healthcare racket. It's that racket. I'm going to do a show on that too. It's a racket. Last but not least, number 5, we've been tricked into thinking the U.S. is a democracy, not a republic, but a democracy, not knowing it's a corporate oligarchy in 2021. Those are 5 of Orwell's worst nightmares and anything he ever wrote. Sadly, he was right. Think about it. Sadly, he was right. And sadly, he was right. It's pretty much gone. And he wasn't the only one to lament the decline of objectivity and thought. C.S. Lewis and many other great thinkers in the 20th century warned us. It's not just history. Journalism and science are also victims of propaganda and big state. CNN, MSNBC versus Fox News. None of these media establishments even attempt to be objective anymore. Rather, they shove a red meat and red herrings for their respective audiences to devour. Identity politics and identity-based news outlets. Extremists everywhere you look. There's extremists everywhere you look. Extremism. That's what happens with dysfunctional government and a dysfunctional educational system. Science is also increasingly falling victim to ideological science, which by definition is analytical to scientific theories and methods. Like I said earlier, I have a book. Believe it or not, I have a book from 1932. I have always said anything written after 1940s, you can only believe half of it. I believed that a long time ago. God, I've been saying that probably since in my 20s. I actually have a book. It's called Towards Soviet America. That is a full pro-communist propaganda. The very first paragraph says the standards of living of producing masses have declined catastrophically. Mass starvation existing in every capitalist country, including the United States. Mass starvation. Now, this brings me to what I want to talk about. Biden's dark winter. Biden's dark winter. It's a dark winter and it's coming. So if you look at it, October 17th, 2021 compared to October 17th, 2020, with inflation, which nobody wants to talk about, stuff like that, Biden's dark winter. They're predicting heating cost is expected to spike. Gas prices up, inflation surging. It was like 6% month of September, October. And supply chains. And the supply chain mess. So if you think about it. Right now, I'm taking this off the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Biden's dark winter. You can look it up yourself. The Bureau of Labor Statistics. Car and truck rentals are up 42.9% compared to last year. Hotels are up 19.8% this date last year. Washers and dryers are up 19.1% compared to this time last year. TVs are up 12.7% from this time last year. The cost of food is rising. October 17th, 21 compared to October 2020. Bacon is up 19.3%. Meat is up 12.6%. Fresh fish and seafood is up 10.7%. Non-alcoholic beverages is up 3.7%. Fruit and vegetables is up 3%. This is all from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's not me. I'm just reporting what I come across. Also coming into Biden's dark winter, higher heating bills are coming. They're predicting that natural gas will be up 30%. Natural gas, 30%, meaning like $746 for natural gas. Average bill for anybody. Obviously, some houses are bigger, whatever, it'd be cost higher. Heating oil is predicted to be up. Actually, it is up. It is up right now, but it's expecting to go up higher. 43%. It's $1,734 for heating oil. If you know, some people have heating oil, some people don't. Then you got propane. Some people have propane. Propane is speculated to be up 54%. 54%. That's equivalent to $1,789 a month or whatever year. I don't use propane. I don't use heating oil. But this is all coming from the Department and the Bureau of Labor. So you can look it up yourself. So anyway, like I said, I've always been a fan. You know, it's the dark winter coming, folks. We're in trouble. We are in trouble. We want to talk about the schools with the parents. Joe the Tyrant Biden weaponizing the DOJ. We'll talk about that. I don't want to be on too long, though. Another thing, you know, it's all coming down to like these great authors, these great minds of the 20th century: George Orwell, Huxley, Brave New World, so on and so on. Orwell feared those who banned books. Orwell feared the truth would be concealed from us. In his book, 1984, people were controlled by pain. Orwell feared fear will run us. You know what I said? Orwell feared fear will ruin us. I don't want to say, you know, you all know what I'm talking about. I want to say, because if I say it, then boom, censored, maybe the video comes down, yada, yada, yada. That's why I said my book, the last video I did up in the top left-hand corner in this video, to check it out. Huxley feared no one would want to read books. No one does. They look at their phone. Nobody reads books anymore. Huxley feared no one would want to read books. Huxley feared the truth would be drowned in the sea of irrelevance. I'm not going to say the truth. They want to hear gossip. John Gruden, Kim Carter, whatever. Just buffoonery. Liberal logic. Liberalism is a mental disease. In Huxley's book, A Brave New World, people were controlled by pleasure. Orwell feared fear will ruin us. Huxley feared desire will ruin us. That's why in one of my videos, I said, why not both in America? Why not both? Why not both? And, I'm going to end the show soon. I've been on for a little while here. I've been definitely on for a little while. And let me think about it. Out of Orwell's books, we're just paraphrasing them, 1984. We've seen it last year and we've seen it for the last few years. George Orwell said this in 1984. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street building has been renamed. Every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party, the government, is always right. Mental slavery, folks. That'd be my fourth share. I did a video on mental slavery. Mental slavery is the worst kind of slavery. It'll be on my bottom right. Check out. I'll put 4 videos up. You guys can check them out if you're new to the show, or if you missed them. If you're following, you missed them. Check it out. I'm sorry, Loretta. You can finally hear me now after all this time. Really? Wow. Sorry about that. That's terrible. I hope everybody else could hear me. So anyway, as I was saying, mental slavery is the worst kind of slavery. It gives the illusion of freedom, makes you trust, love, and defend your oppressor, while making an enemy of those who are trying to free you or open your eyes. We are drowning in information while starving for wisdom. And basically, I'm going to end it now. As I say, I'm Tim Davis, aka Professor X, your New Age patriot. No man, one opinion. I'll say this before I tune out. Prepare yourselves, for the battle of our Constitution has begun. So, from Patriot Nation TV, Tim Davis signing out. God bless. God bless you. God bless America. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Good night.